Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jeff from TLE back again, here with the Sky Striker deck profile from Locals. Was going to play something a bit more saucy, a Tri-Brigade Lureless deck, but it wasn't quite complete yet and I couldn't find all the cards, so I just went to my old faithful Sky Striker. So let's get started. You know, of course, the Heart and Soul, 3 Ray, you have to have Ray. She's bae. 2 Rose, not quite as good as Ray, not quite the bae you want, but it does the job. It's still a name. And in certain situations, you can use it as an extender to go into other link plays. So it's solid at 2. I would try 1, but you don't want to not have a name. Speaking of names, you got 3 more now. There's 3 linkage. This card has changed what the Sky Striker deck is. It's much faster now, and it has more potential to OTK due to the boost and Kagari adding it back. But also is just more advantage to be had. You can use it on your opponent's turn to grab back engage, so you can start the next turn with the double engage play. So it's very impactful. I'm glad that we finally got this card to the TCG, though it may have been late, but we can still make it work. 3 Widow Anchors is standard for all Sky Striker decks for the most part. It's just a good way to negate their interactions and then continue to break the board. 2 Area Zero. I used to be a fan of one of this, but now that linkage exists, it has more applications, more good things to hit off of it. So 2 is pretty consistent. You can try 3 if you can find the room, but I was building this to go first, so there wasn't a lot of room to fit anything else. 2 Shark Cannon. This is a consensus for the Shizu matchup. The Shizu tier elements. It interrupts the tier element plays, so we just play this at 2. You could play 3, but I have a couple cards for going first that I think are a little bit better than Shark Cannons. You can reuse them. 1 Afterburner. No jamming waves. There's just not a lot of spells and traps in the format that I'm really too afraid of. So just Afterburn, you can reuse it most of the time. 1's enough. Another copy of Ray. Hornet Drones, it also lets you link climb. It's pretty good most of the time, but it's not Ray, so that hurts a lot. And then you have Multi-Roll and Engage, the 2 best cards in the deck, hands down. Unfortunately, Multi-Roll is not as strong going second, but you still love to see it. It combos with Area Zero and all the other cards in the deck, and just the effect to make your spells unrespondable, like a Super Poly. It's just way too good. People often forget about that. Then for consistency, that's all the striker lineup right there. Consistency, 2 Pot of Prosperity. The reason we're on Prosperity is because it's going first list, so if you don't see Ray, you can use it to grab a high impact card to stop your opponent from playing. But if you do not see Ray, it also lets you get Ray. So no matter what, you're going to be able to get to your Ray. Instead of Desires, where it's more of a risk and you might lose Engage. It's pretty good for me most of the time. 1 Terraforming, 1 Zombie World. The Terraforming acts as a 3rd copy of Area Zero, while also placing another spell in the grave, very important. And then Zombie World, it's strong in the current meta. It interacts with Flunderies to the point that they can't play the game. And then I would try more of this as a Floodgate Messenger piece. I think that it's similar in the fact to Mystic Mine, that it prevents you from attacking. And there's already cards in the Sky Striker deck that can negate monster effects. So the idea was you can get this up and then you can prolong the game state and just build advantage. Two-dimensional barrier. This is just for how the meta is right now. You play this so that you can stop either Sprite from using Gigantic or primarily tier elements from fusing, just skipping their turn. 2 Summon Limit. You play Summon Limit because you're going first, and then that way they can't proceed to combo out too much with the Sprite deck. It's alright against the Shizu tier, but you rather it be Dimensional Barrier for sure. But you need to have your Sky Striker deck be pretty well rounded in order to like make it through a tournament. But this was just a short tournament. There's only 3 rounds. And then for hand traps, the Heart and Soul of Sky Striker, because if you have everything face down, eventually they will punish you. 3 Imperm, and 3 Valor. I'm really liking this right now because it stops Kick Kalos. And then against Flunderies, it also can like stop them from outright playing most of the time. And then to complement that, you're playing 3 Bell. This is mostly for Bestials to protect your Ray from getting removed from play, but sometimes it's randomly good against Tears from fusing. Outside of that, those are like the only things you're really worried about. Sky Striker can keep up with everything else that isn't like unfair. Oh, and then the cards that shuffle, the Shizus that can shuffle, can also stop that. And to continue, you play 2 DD Crow. Similar reasons to Bell, but Bell's a little bit stronger because it protects the Ray, whereas like Crow can just interact with their graveyard to stop them from playing. You could argue it could be Shark Cannon or something like that too, but I like the Crow, it was alright. And then 2 Ash. Ash is just a well-rounded hand trap to add to the mix. It stops the milling 5 from happening a lot of the time too. So that's all for the main deck. Extra deck. 3 Kagaris, really standard. 3 Shizuku, also 1 Kaina. Kaina is kind of nice. You kind of need it sometimes. It holds off the bigger Bestials and stuff like that when you're breaking up the board. 2 Hayate. Sometimes you might want to argue 3 because of prosperities, but you should only ever need 1 to resolve realistically. Any more than that is just asking for too much. And then 2 Zeke. I like 2 Zeke personally because it's just a good way to clear off the monsters with Widow Anchor and then still end on a Sky Striker monster at the end and then go into Shizuku if need be. Alright, and then for the rest of the extra deck, we're playing 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Just a basic Link monster to go into with Widow Anchor and out problem cards like Anti-Spell if they're playing that for some reason. 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Same idea as Phoenix, but it costs a little bit more to go into it. 3 monsters, and then you can out something on the board. So it definitely helps. And then you usually end that with access code. Access code doesn't really come up as much as it used to without Needle Fiber, unfortunately. But it still is important to have because Shark Cannon can steal high-level Link monsters ratings. And then because of that, you can go into it easily. And then I was just testing this out because I usually have room for like 1 more card. So I went with Abyss Dweller because the idea was with linkage and Ray and Rose, if I drew like too many of them or I drew Area 0, I thought I could just go into Abyss Dweller plus Shizuku. You would start by going into like Hayate and then summon the other monsters and then go into Abyss Dweller under it and then go into Shizuku to round out your turn. And that should be enough to beat a Shizu most of the time. And then you can actually do something with the extra 4-star monsters that you drew, whereas otherwise they would just be blank cards. And then next turn you have Engage and you can link this off and then go for a game from there. It didn't come up, but it could also be Baguska, depending on what your meta is, what you expect to play. Baguska is pretty good too. And now for the side deck. So for the side deck, because I was going into locals, I kind of just wanted like cards that could like swing the game into my favor pretty easily. So we went with 2 Nib in case I ran into any like crazy combo decks, anything people are trying out. 3 Ghost Ogre. This card is pretty well rounded against like Flu, and you might even want to put it in against Tears because you can hit the field spell. But outside of that, the monsters you don't really want to hit. And then like for most rogue matchups, it's pretty good. And it can combo with your Area 0. If you activate Area 0, you can activate Ghost Ogre, destroying your Area 0 to get Ray. That usually doesn't come up, but it's just another neat interaction to know about. And then for board removal, you have 3 Raigeki for the monsters, any problem monsters that they put that with a Widow Anchor, and you can pretty much out anything. Feather Duster for the back row. I typically would try to play like Cosmic or Twin Twister if I think that people are playing Anti-Spell, but I think Anti-Spell is pretty unpopular right now, so I'm not really too worried about it. So I went with 3 Evenly as well to complement it because this can pair nicely with the same thing as Widow Anchor or Raigeki. It's just another way to break the board up and just play your Sky Striker deck simply. And then the last card was like a blowout card is Dimensional Fissure. You play this because it pairs nicely with the Raigekis, and then your Afterburner It gives that a lot more value in your Widow Anchors, because now whenever you break the board, everything gets banished, and if you go first, it's really strong. I wouldn't main deck it though, because it's not always guaranteed that you're gonna go first. Whereas like the summon limit and the dimensional barrier can still be good on turns like 2 and 3, where this may not do anything anymore. So real quick, my matchups were Bird Up. That was really easy. The guy was pretty new, and Summon Limit just dealt with that both games, honestly. Off the Prosperity, I just went for Summon Limit. It was just good enough. Round 2, I went against Labyrinth, and he shifted me the first game, but that's all he had, and I went Shizuku Pass, and it was just enough to get me there. On the following turn, I was able to use my Sky Striker cards to play through his trap cards. The second game now, he opened a little bit stronger, but I had Ashen Imperm. I Impermed like his first starting play, and then on my turn he tried to use the Welcome Labyrinth, and I was able to Ash that, and I seen that he went for Eradicator off of his backjack, so now he couldn't play his Eradicator, and I was able to grind that out. So he lost, and I ended up going to time, but his resources like ran through most of my extra deck. Had we not won in a time and I wasn't up on life, the game probably would have ended differently. But it was a good game. And then round 3 was versus Tier. It was just a straight up grind, and it was one of the grinds where he was getting better mills than I was having cards to play the game with, so I could only interact so much. But it was still fun. Went 2-1. I got a couple packs, I think. I got these 2 packs. I was thinking about opening them up later. And we got some packs for winning. And I pulled Runic Tote and these 2 Priestess monsters. I'm not sure what these do, but I know that the Runics are good. Actually, stay tuned. There might be a spicy, real sauce Runic deck coming. You just have to hang out and like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you want to see that. All right, have a good night, guys.